Hi, it's Georgina Murray here, and you're watching Kickstart Your Mojo. I'm interviewing Daniel Colbert today about his experience of being on the Derren Brown show. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Hiya. So how did you end up being on the Derren Brown show?
To be honest, it was pretty much down to luck. Derren only advertised his his application for the show on his Twitter, and I wasn't even using Twitter at the time. And I know he had like about 1 million followers on there.
Oh, right.
And apparently about 20% of that had actually applied for the show. And for me, when I'd applied for it, it was only because a friend on Facebook had posted it saying, "Oh yeah, I'm giving it a go. I'm going to see what happens." And I thought, yeah, I'll try it too. And just by chance, they picked my application. Out of these like 200,000 people who were following him on Twitter, and just with how it all kind of like fell into place, I was very fortunate that I got picked.
So what did it involve then, being part of this experiment? What did you have to do?
Well, they told me and sort of the group that I was with that we were to take a blue pill that would, during an actual presentation, we were told that it would cure our fears and phobias.
Right.
So we had to have this pill 4 times a day for about 2.5 months, I think it was. And as I say, it was there to cure our fears and phobias. But for me, it wasn't just so much the fears and phobias that that I'd listed to them that were kind of getting cured. It was my whole motivation and my whole sort of like presence in everything that I was doing that just suddenly shot up and just sort of gave me all these amazing results, which was all down to me, really.
So what did they say the pill would do? I know you said that it would cure fears and phobias, but you talked about it being making people superhuman. Did they say something about that?
Yeah, so basically they were saying that some of the effects of having this pill would be that our hearing would be improved.
Right.
Sort of colours and would be more contrasted. And the only way I kind of explain it to people is like looking at a normal TV to looking at everything in HD.
Okay, yeah.
And I do remember sort of on the way home after the whole experience of it, that I'd be on the underground, I'd be just looking everywhere like, oh my god, everything just looks so much brighter and more colourful and stuff. And really the main focus was like we get those things and of course the curing of our fears and phobias. But I suppose for me, as I say, it was so much more getting that whole motivation streak out of it as well.
Because I find it fascinating. So you were taking the pill 4 times a day, this blue pill, and you obviously thought it was a real pill.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and you really believed that. And I know you said to me that you actually had to have an injection as well at the start of the experiment. And you thought that had something in it that was going to, change you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but because they told us when we were there that because of the actual impact of this pill, which was no more than just sugar inside it, that because of the impact of the pill, we had to let our bodies kind of get used to it. And they said, right, for that to happen, the actual first placebo or the first sort of take of it would have to be an injection in the arm.
I see, to get your body used to it.
And it, and we did it, and they said what the side effects were, even though it was just no more than saline or water in there.
Yeah.
But because of having it as an injection, I think it even says it in the episode that when people have an injection of a placebo, they tend to believe it more because of just how much more serious it seems to be, rather than just sort of popping a pill in your mouth. And and because of that, we really did kind of get the effects of it. And the only side effect that they said, we get like tingling in the hand. And of course, my whole group and myself did actually get tingling in the hand when, nothing was really wrong or happening there.
So, I know you said you were a lot more motivated when you were taking this pill. What else did it do to you in terms of, helping you with any fears or phobias you had?
Well, when I gave them my list of fears and phobias, it was things like scared of heights, scared of spiders, screaming like a 5-year-old girl every time I'd see one, no matter how big or small.
So you had a real phobia of spiders?
Words can't describe how much of a phobia I have or had of spiders.
Yeah,
okay. Whenever I'd watch a horror film that had a spider in, just so happens, ironically, a spider would come running out of nowhere towards me, and like I kid you not,
real
because people
Yeah.
don't even believe me, but like honestly, whenever that would happen, it really freaked me out. So I'd always end up getting to a point where I would just avoid watching any film that would have a spider in completely. So watching even like Lord of the Rings that had the big massive spider, and that was quite a daunting experience as well.
Okay.
So that was kind of how
You
extreme
were
that got with the spiders.
Really scared of them.
Oh yeah. So there was spiders, heights, claustrophobic spaces, but that was also more to do with like the heat in the claustrophobic spaces when you're in like a tight elevator or being on the underground when it's packed, and things like scared of death, anxiety attacks sometimes, and those were kind of more the general things that I had.
So what did you find then what impact did it have on those phobias? For example, with the spiders, after taking the pill for some time, what you found, the phobia disappeared, did it?
Yeah, so like my first week of being on the pill, I was quite sceptical of it, and then sort of after that, I'd actually convinced myself it was real. After not having dinner one night, and then suddenly I'd convinced myself after taking the pill that everything was fine. But when it came to checking like my fears of things, it was kind of like as I was coming across them. So a couple of weeks after being on the pill, having it 4 times a day and stuff, and then I'd stumble across a spider in my house, and then rather than sort of freaking out and screaming or calling for someone to come and get it, it was like, oh, okay, so there's a spider on the floor. Okay, I'll just go get a cup and put it outside, and I'd walk away, and I'd come back, and it'd still be there. And I know normally I would have freaked out if on the fact that it could run in any kind of direction. And and I'd just sort of pick it up and I'd take it out. And we, even at work, I didn't work on like the highest of buildings, but I'd go up to one of the floors and I'd look down over the edge and it'd be a few stories high, and I wouldn't even have that vertigo feeling whatsoever. And even on the train as well, even that kind of sort of like tight claustrophobic feeling, it wasn't even really there so much more either.
Wow. So it had a massive impact on your life then, the whole experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, I'm in a way, I'm a believer that sometimes things happen for a reason, and I really was lucky that, considering that I wasn't even a fan of Derren on his Twitter, and that was only where it was advertised, and then 200,000 people had their applications picked up from that, and then from that, I got a phone call that invited me to an audition, and so on and so forth. And to then, kind of get picked down from 200,000 to like the final 30 that I think were all included in the show. Because I know, although I was a main participant and I wasn't a main story, there was a good like 5 groups that had to think about 4 to 6 people in each of them.
Right.
So I mean, even for that, I was really fortunate.
So it was almost like it was meant to be, really, in a way.
Yeah, definitely for the experience and as like a learning curve. I mean, I suppose the beautiful thing out of it, after being on this pill for 2.5 months and then being told afterwards it was a placebo, I suppose that the beautiful moral of it was that it was all down to me. All my motivation and stuff, my focus on things, it really was down to me.
It really shows like the power of the mind, definitely.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And because I was curious actually how you felt when they told you, right, it is a placebo, and you've seen all these changes, you've had all these experiences on taking this pill. Well, how did you?
You actually see it in the episode, like literally the moment that Derren says that Ramiadin was an anagram for your mind, and you see all the words like let's just jumble up, and it forms it. You actually see me kind of like doing like a face plant. So you see my hands just go into my head, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe that this is true, or that this is happening. It was just such a shocking thing, because so many positive things had happened out of having this pill, and it was just kind of strange to think that that I'd actually somehow discipline myself to this kind of level, and cause all these amazing things to happen all on my own because someone said that I could do it, that it was possible because of a little tiny pill. And I'd spoken to a friend of mine who wrote the Mindfulness for Dummies book, so Shamash Aladina, and he's a mindfulness coach and expert. Yeah. And he'd said to me, I told him about my experience with this, and basically he had said to me that the focus and presence that I'd actually caused myself to have in like a space of like 2 weeks was kind of like a master level of what so many people who do mindfulness, take almost years sometimes to get to. And I managed to just discipline myself so much to this like particular point that, anything was almost possible because I really was putting my mind to it.
You were so present in the moment, and that was, you think, from taking that pill, you...
Absolutely, yeah. And even after we were told that the pill was fake, they'd actually said to us that you can still continue taking the pills and it would still continue to work, simply because it becomes more of a physiological thing rather than a psychological thing.
Right.
So because with having the pill so often and for so long as well, we'd actually trained our bodies to understand that if we have a blue pill, or for the other groups who had a red pill, that if we have the pill, it will actually continue all of the effects that we've continued to have over the 2.5 months. So even that was quite a surreal thing to believe. And funny enough, I actually still kept doing it for a few weeks after finding out as well.
So what happened when you stopped taking that pill then? Did the effects last? Did you find that you still didn't have those phobias, those fears rather?
It was very strange to begin with, because basically with how they had the rest of the pills kind of finishing off, and like the final weeks, you'd almost sort of break up. So where I wasn't having 4 a day, it went down to kind of like 2 a day, then 1 a day and stuff. So they kind of had it set up so you'd kind of get weaned off of it. But it still was very strange, being off the pill. I mean, where, I'd be used to, taking one 4 times a day.
Yeah.
And then, for a good like 2.5 months, and then after that, it was, that was kind of it. It was very strange, and it kind of feel like, that some of those skills had deteriorated slightly, just because I'd lost that routine of having a pill and believing, that was making a difference. But definitely a lot of the stuff, it stuck with me, I carried on using it. I can pretty much kind of get that focus back definitely every now and again. Not as strong as I did when I was on the pill. That sounds quite funny. But it's definitely there, and it is. And as I say, the moral of it was, everything was just down to me. There is that saying, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything, and that really. And I've kind of really got that proper understanding of it. I thought, it's just a saying that someone's has.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it really can. If you really do put your mind to something, you can, and you're that determined, and you set yourself goals, and you can be as present as possible, and you definitely have a clear mindset. Then, yeah, absolutely, anything really can be possible to do it.
That's really interesting. Thanks very much, Dan.
Yeah, no problem.
Cheers.
Cool.
If you've been watching Kickstart Your Mojo,